Welcome to the Creative Industry Talk. This week, my name is Okila, and in the studio is Faisal, Kiwewa, and Ssali. Back on the show, the legend, as Faisal says, gentlemen, welcome to the show. And of course, we need to play Rasta's song today. People just don't know that Rasta has a album.
Give you his rights.
Rasta, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And Faisal, welcome back to the show. We missed you last week. The internet wasn't doing us justice, but we're happy to have you back on the show today.
Thank you.
Good. How was your trip?
It was good. It was good.
And
relaxation, I think.
Yes, from Karamoja, riding the bicycle with kids to
wherever I went.
To wherever you went flying. So those are a good one. Mr. Bicycle himself, how are you today? Yes, you know, Rasta is always riding every Sunday.
Actually, I wanted to recommend him to do the Karamoja thing.
Yes.
I did the 64 kilometers
yes.
in 3 hours, which was really nice. I'm sure Rasta will enjoy it.
Yes.
Ah, that's cool.
I need to go for that as well. And to all of you out there, welcome to the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Okila, Faisal Kiwewa, and of course Ssali. We are back to talk about the situation surrounding the creative industry in Uganda. And our topic this week is not far from where we started last week, which is the COVID-19 and its effect and impact on the creative industry. Specifically, we want to focus on investments, investors, events, and partners. This week we want to talk about partners in that regard. So I will start with you, Faisal. Extraordinary situation like pandemics disrupt normalcy and can shake up the industry very much, and we're seeing the sector either can be positively impacted or negatively impacted. Obviously, the creative industry in Uganda has been heavily negatively impacted. And what are the positive developments on the creative industry so far this week, which we can attribute to COVID-19, or this month of April? Now that you're in the month of Ramadan.
Yeah, first of all, it's very good that we are fasting. It takes away the the stress of worrying about food for the creative. So I recommend all the creative people who are not having any revenues fast. It will save you some revenues. But on a serious note, I think it is very there are some significant strides that have been achieved within this period. Some of us have been busy working on certain new products on the market that we are going to bring in, and like this Friday we are doing an orientation of our new platform, an e-commerce platform that we have been developing for the past 8 months. And I would really credit that to COVID, because before we didn't have the time. We're so busy with the events and the usual business. Now when we went back home and had time to be in our own spaces, we found ourselves thinking, and what can we do differently? How can we create sustainability? How can we not get surprised again like we are now with the COVID? So we were not prepared, but now I think it has given us an opportunity to to think how best can we do things differently, how can we survive. But I'm also worried one of the disadvantages of it is that we are going to lose a lot of creatives, because many of them that have been really depending on the arts, for example, in theater, in film, in dance, have not had any opportunity to get any support or any revenues. And even before, they were struggling. So now during this lockdown, they have really suffered more. And I really think most of them are going to change their careers to do certain things that are different. So in the very near future, we are going to find ourselves starting again to build a new industry because of this pandemic.
Wow. Rasby, we left the show last week when you were talking about we need to help creatives to come up with something. And are there any positives so far since you appeared on the show that you have come with today that we can start from, like Faisal said, this month?
Basically, before I kick off, hopefully my body scent is okay for you. For me, I haven't seen any positives since
from the events perspective.
Since I was last year.
Yeah.
Of course, there is no any positives. It's the same story.
Yeah.
As Faisal had mentioned, what I've also noticed, people leaving the industry.
Yeah.
They are trying to set up themselves into other income-generating staff projects.
Yes.
Because when you look at the industry, we do not know when it will reopen. There's no specific time that in this time the industry will be open. So we are still basically so people are rethinking, even myself, because you know I have equipment.
Yeah.
So the more equipment stays in a store without working, it's affected.
Yeah.
You understand? So once in a while we get it out, we try to clean it, put it into power, you know, and all these are costs because you need to pay for power.
Yeah.
You need to pay for water to clean the equipment, even the crew, you need to pay them.
Yeah.
So there is no single positivity for now. So we are still stuck in the same old.
Well, Faisal, naturally there have been several negative implications on the creative industry. And like Rasby has said, for them that are in the event space today, our focus is on the event space, and you are a creator and you have this. How do we get out of this negativity, and could you run us through some of them and how could we navigate them going forward?
I mean, you know, there is no one to blame about the, you know,
COVID-19, true.
Yeah, but at the same time,
but there could be some people to blame about COVID-19. We don't know. There's money here and there, but that jokes aside, please proceed. Yes.
I don't know my blame people. So I try to do something about it. I think the negativity in terms of you know, what is there now is really built on the fact that there is a lot of you know, frustration.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of less hope and opportunity for people. Like we talked the other time, I think it's really important for, yes, as a people, we need to think for ourselves. How can we survive? But also, on the other hand, we need to be able, as citizens, as governments, because we inform or contribute, plan for our own people.
Yes. So
I think the negativity has been really seeing the imbalance in the approach to the pandemic. Of course, within our limitations, which sometimes we forego as a government. I'm not talking on behalf of the government, I'm not OO, but maybe as I can speak like OO when he says that our government spends more than it has, which is the fact, but also the priorities in where it is spending, I think it's where people get more frustrated from. And then they carry on this frustration because they feel there has not been any thought for them. You know, I think it's really, really challenging any mind to find that people, a certain group of people, is really living on their lives the way normal, yet another segment is really, really struggling. And if I was in that position, I would like to create a balance. I know it's difficult sometimes. You're not going to feed everyone or make everyone happy, but you have to put up some systems in a place where you feel, or you can try to create a balance in the lifestyles, in the livelihoods of the people. So I think that's where the most of the frustrations are, and the negativity comes from. And I don't think it's possible to take that away unless if there is a change in approach or a change in the attitude of the leadership. But I think it's also important to not frustrate ourselves as stakeholders, I understand from Rasby, it's a huge investment they have put in over the years. I think he's been working for over 20 years to build his company. It was at the peak of it, and then boom. Now I can imagine all the cables, all the lights, all the microphones. Some of them will not. You plug it in power and just it explodes because it's not been used. All these electrical stuff need to be used to keep them alive. So I think that is very, very challenging for an investment, and I think for the economy and for the people, they have to figure out how to to change their attitude, given the fact that they cannot do anything about it.
Wow.
These things are there. We are not gonna we are not gonna wake up like the Europeans did. I saw it in South Africa. They just came out and just brought out all their, I don't know whether you saw those videos. They came out and brought all the equipment and put it on in the street, blocked the road, and they told them,
we need to go back to work.
Or you give us money to survive. And they actually they tried to support them. So I don't think we're going to do that.
Rasby, are you going to bring the trucks on the road?
When you look at our situation here, it's totally different. Because we are not like South Africa. We are not like Europe or America. Here, our system of governance is totally different. You get on the street, you know the precautions.
You might lose the investment itself.
But they fired the people who were doing that. Yesterday I heard. 153.
The police one who did that. Well, that would be a
so
positive.
They fire after, but
mistakes people have already suffered.
Exactly.
Your equipment is gone. But on that note, borrowing from what Faisal was saying, Rasby, you have invested heavily into the events industry. As a person. Where does that leave you? We left last week when you're looking for some of the solutions to, somebody to speak life. And I said, let's have Faisal back on the show today, and let's have you back on the show so that Faisal can, we can speak some life nuggets of truth, of how can we move back? What can we do to move back from this COVID-19? What are you thinking? You're now representing the guys in that space. We can't bring all of them here, but at least you're here.
Of course I'm here, but we're all in different situations. My situation might not be the one of the other person in the same industry. Basically for me, I'm still cracking down my head to see how I can survive after this. Well, but life has to move on. So, first of all, you need a supportive family. If you don't have support from the other family members, that's also another problem. Because when you're stuck here, if you have a supportive family, they can come in and give you a boost, morale, and basically engaging in other activities to keep you moving. So for me, still I'm stuck. No plan. No plan yet.
Faisal, do you have a plan for Rasby? From your point of view, and I want to bring it from this point that you have a platform you're launching. That platform seems to help sort out the problem, or will help sort out the problem of the artist, the musician. But you see that it's going to go a long way for those who are in creative art, particularly in artist singers, all right, or theater, painters, or visual art. But the guys who are in the art industry of we make things happen, events, we make things happen.
When you look at Faisal's case, he's more into the administration. In my case, I'm more into the execution. So I haven't been in that line of planning. Now Faisal in the administration, so his main focus is planning for the industry. That is the difference between me and Faisal. I'm more of an executor. So I haven't been having that plan that in case of this or that. So my main aim is execution.
Yes.
So Faisal should be having a
so Faisal, yeah, I mean, let's get down to Faisal here and just ask Faisal. Yes, I was asking the question, how do you help these guys move forward?
I think you know, it's a puzzle that we all have to play to contribute to as an industry or as a sector. And one of the things, from a programming perspective, we are prepared. Even if you tell me to roll out tomorrow a festival, I can do a festival tomorrow because I have my program since 2020. I have my artists on just a phone call away. I have everything prepared. I just need authorization. But this authorization also comes with the fact that, is it the right time to get this authorization? Because I don't want, at the end of the day, to be responsible for 50 people getting COVID because of my event. At the same time, can I work in an environment whereby I make sure that even if they are 50 or 100 or 200, they are not going to be at risk of acquiring or getting infected with the virus. So I think this is where the challenge is. And like we were talking last time, I think the plan for us as the presenters and the programmers, we are prepared to present, you know, to work with the industry, to book them, even though we try to do small things, but they are not effective, they are not good enough, they are not enough for people. But I think what needs to be done is the authorities have to sit down on the same table with us and say, okay, like they did for churches, and like they did for COVID, the COVID cases that were coming in. They designated certain areas. They said the Entebbe Virus Hospital is for COVID patients who are getting Mulago. We have a section where, you know, if you have COVID, you go there. If you go to whatever hospital. Now, it's very simple. So for the music industry or for the industry, you can say Bat Valley. Bat Valley is big. You know, and it can host concerts of, I think I've been there when there are like over 2,000 people seated in that hall before COVID. Now, if you just say a space like Bat Valley that hosts over 2,000 people, okay, let's say 1,000 people, you tell it, instead of 1,000, why don't you host 200? And you give them, observe the space, you know, give them the SOPs, make sure that they follow those rules, make sure they will make sure, because they also want to work. They don't want to be caught on the other side of the law.
Because nobody wants to not follow what authorities given when you are being squeezed. Yes,
and look at the National Theatre. I was telling you last time, the National Theatre hosts around 372 people who sit in full capacity at the National Theatre. If you say just half of those people, everyone sits at a distance, you can have a concert of Joel, and then Rasby will be in business. You know, you can have a concert of Susan Kerunen, or you can have a concert of, you know, a dance show by Samuel Ibanda, you know, because you need to think for the industry. And these things, the artists are ready, the industry is ready, the service providers are there, but they cannot do it on their own. They cannot just wake up and go and start performing. They need to be backed up by the law, and the law is not supporting them. So that's where the dilemma is.
Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, Faisal and Rasby and myself are going to be talking a little bit more about the pandemic and, of course, the government, you know, plans for us to move forward and what we need to do. I think some of the plans that Faisal is sharing is what Rasby was looking for last week, saying, let those who might have better thinking process come through and help us on how we can move forward. I think we're finding a way for this, and if you're a creative mind, a musician, a visual artist, a theater, you know, a drummer, this is your space to be. We'll be right back after the break. This is the Creative Industry Talk.
You want inside me like an amplifier. It a ban every fresh desire. Like the Holy Spirit with the holy fire. From glory to glory, it might take me higher. and serving you is my hearty desire. And then the righteousness be my long attire. Jesus blood and data me a plead. Holy gemi gabi gabi we are coming star.
Uri mu mutima wanjye sinza kwitesha agakiza wamaye kandutira byose ubuzima bwanjye bufite intego ni wowe nkesha kubaho kwanjye ni wowe byiringiro bizima Yesu.
Give me the blessing so that me can prosper. Me only daddy and me papa and me doctor. Water me get every time when me thirsty. Oh yes, you love me, love me, love me, love me. Daily, yes, you dey put food for me on the platter. And then your eyes watch over me. And then the heart full of praise and thanks that me offer. Thank you light inside. I feel alive, alive inside. I cannot deny. Na moment in my wange.
Uri mu mutima wanjye sinza kwitesha agakiza wamaye kandutira byose ubuzima bwanjye bufite intego ni wowe nkesha kubaho kwanjye ni wowe byiringiro bizima Yesu. Sinzaho nari kuba ndi iyo wowe Yesu utaza kucubura nta nzira nabonaga imbere yanjye nta cyizere cy'ejo nari mfite hari umwijima wicura burindi imbere yanjye ariko Yesu waraje uramurikira uri mu mutima wanjye sinza kwitesha agakiza wamaye kandutira byose ubuzima bwanjye bufite intego ni wowe nkesha kubaho kwanjye ni wowe byiringiro bizima Yesu.
Serving you is my hearty desire. And then the righteousness be my long attire. Jesus blood and data me a plead. Holy gemi gabi gabi we are coming style.
Welcome back to the Creative Industry Talk. The discussion continues. My name is Okila, and in the studio is Faisal Kiwewa, who is the founder and the CEO of Bayimba Foundation and Bayimba Academy and many other things under Bayimba, doing what he does best. And of course in the studio is Ssali, the legend himself, the man who has been there. He's got more experience in these things better than us. He is a living legend to us, and we pay a lot of respect to him. Rasbi, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
I just want to take you guys straight to one of the things that happened. When the pandemics, basically like COVID-19, emerged anywhere in the world, governments are duty bound to always come up with decisive actions or measure to curb the spread of such pandemics when it happens. As a creative, they usually use creative. In fact, let me put it this way: as a creative, they always use our art to communicate.
Of course.
In the process of curbing the pandemic, but sometimes the assessment of the situation may not be very good, and they don't tend to involve other people. What is your assessment of the government of Uganda's COVID-19 response? Let's start from there.
I mean, I really, I don't do politics.
Yes.
So I'm always,
in relation to what we're talking about.
I don't want to be caught on the other side.
Yes.
Because I think we have a lot of work to do in the creative industry.
Yeah.
And I find it very difficult for me to, look around what government is doing, because they have not done much for the industry. As long as I've been in it, at least for the past 15 years.
Yeah.
Even just passing some simple conducive laws and regulations, they have failed to do so.
Yeah.
So I don't think there was anything for them to plan for the creatives, because they don't think it exists. They know, but they don't think it exists. And I think it's very difficult. It would have been a real surprise to find that the government thought about the creatives during pandemic, because they've been struggling with other issues, health and security, and which are important as well, and education. I mean, there were some of the key things like education have been also struggling the same way. It's just that many people went out crying, and then they had to get into all these statistics of how many girls got pregnant in just 3 months in Wales, 700 during the lockdown, and they were all young people. So they were like, okay, let's now go back to school. And we're not going to get the same approach as the creatives to say, oh, how many people are pregnant in the creative industries? I think what the government should do, and this is something for me I've really tried to emphasize. It is very simple. You don't need to give money to the creative industries, because there would be never enough money to give to the creative industries within this pandemic. What you can do for us is just let us work within the authorized SOPs. Let us work. And I think, not for me only, because I also work with a lot of artists, and I find it very challenging when you see that people are giving up. They are giving up because they cannot survive anymore. They cannot survive on handouts. They cannot survive, without any activity, So I think it's really, really important for the government, and I also somehow agree, but also disagree with this idea that we need to commit to have a think tank to present a paper with all the defined rules and regulations. We don't need that. I think it's clear there are spaces that are designated for art and productions. They can be visited and approved or disapproved, but at least find some spaces, give them some indication that you can work within these areas, within these numbers, and that will be better than giving people, I don't know, how much can they give? 5,000, 10, 50?
Yes.
I don't know.
I just want to go down to Ssali. What is your assessment? You've heard from Faisal. What is your assessment of the response in relations to COVID-19 situation by our government? Of course, a lot of the communication that is passed out by government during the pandemic, they're using songs. I mean, whoever knew that Bud Black would be such a big resource during COVID-19, using our art of doing things, the message she passed out.
Socialite.
Yes. It's not a form of, yes. But you see, I mean, the posters that were being made, wash your hands, it's designed by an artist. How can we not see that the artists are very serious, creatively very serious? The music that we're singing and the songs that were being written and being put forward are by the artist. These raspberries here are the ones singing for us, and at the same time supplying. So, have they been what is your assessment of this response in relation? Did they understand?
Basically,
yeah.
When I look at government, to me, communicating about the pandemic, it did well.
Very good.
It did very well, the SOPs, social distancing, masks, washing your hands, keep away from crowds. The message has been quite good. But the only issue is that was their concentration mainly. But now they needed to come to the planning bit, because that is the duty of the government. That's why we elect people. That's why government has departments handling all sorts of issues, human issues. But I don't know whether these departments are working, because their duty is to plan for the people.
Yeah.
So what Faisal has talked about, guys coming up, you know, it has been, most of you, like the gyms, the salons, the arcades opening up, it has been under pressure. Guys pressured, just pressured the government. Hey, then government was like, okay. You understand? But there was no actual plan for all these sectors. That now, this is our plan, arcades are going to open up. These are all the plans. The salons will open up. There was no plan.
Yes.
They did it under pressure. So that's where I fault our government. There is no actual plan for its people. So us, the creative industry, inclusive. So guys are just working under pressure. But when you talk about the pandemic handling, it was okay. Communication was clear up to now, up to date. But that's not the main issue. The after effect is the people. You know? How have you handled the people? The human resource. Because this is where government gets money. You see? So if you don't handle them well, then there is a big problem. That's why you see that we have a new wave of flies in the city. You know that? This is the border. It's becoming crazy. We don't know whether some of the creative people are riding the borders. Because you can never know, someone is putting on a helmet, so you can't know.
You might find it's baby cool.
You know, you just wonder that in a few months, too many borders on the road. Where were they before? That means people who have been affected have seen
for ways.
Yes, that the easiest way to get quick money is riding a border. You get what I mean?
And getting into politics.
That's why I'm getting into politics, because everyone
which is not where we want them to go, but because they're pushing
the kind of money they get.
The kind of money they,
they're like, hey, if I get elected, you know, I mean,
this music thing is not working. This event thing is not working.
So that's where our government has to sit back and rethink that they need to plan for their people, not only the creative industry, but all sectors. They should have plans, like 10 years plans or 20 years or 50 years in case of anything, because you can never know what happens. So anything comes up, you know, oh, we had a plan. Execution, and creating opportunities also. Because if you kill the opportunities, then that's another big problem to the society. You need to open up the market so that guys can have opportunities too. Because like the creative, it's not only about our material. You know, because when you create, you get your stuff out, you earn. Then what you've earned, you need also to invest it somewhere else. But are those opportunities available? We need to look at that. Because some artists earned money even before COVID. But do they have any investment? When you look at, say, the property or the manufacturing, the processing, are we there? You know, because now that is the work of the administrators, the government, to come out and let the creative industry understand that, oh, when you earn that kind of money, you can as well invest it here in case this doesn't work out. Because you can't be on the top. Like in the creative, you can't be on the top all the time. There are young people who come up with new ideas. Because society, things change.
Things are growing.
Lifestyle changes. So you might be kicked out, but when you have invested somewhere, you're good to go. But these are opportunities which government has to bring out and people understand them.
And I think also, I think also just to add on to Raspi, where some of the, despite the COVID situation, where some of the young creatives have been really also frustrated and impatient is also the conditions that are put around them. Many of them are very creative. They want to create initiatives. They want to help other people. And they want also to have a good livelihoods. But they get very discouraged by the system failing, like, the taxes that are put on every, payments and goods. I don't know how many taxes everyone pays. If you buy a cup like this, the cup makeup is taxed, you are taxed, the person putting the logo is taxed. So it's really, really discouraging. And most of these young businesses are just starting. They need some years of sustainability
space to grow. Yeah.
And the government has really failed to create that system where they can offer those incentives for young people. And there are so many creative businesses. If you go to Design Hub, find so many young startups. They are startups and they are really trying to work hard. They are putting in everything. They are reserves and whatever. But immediately they start, they are taxed, and then you find them frustrated. They cannot continue because they have nowhere to find this money. They've not already broken through the market. They are just trying to figure out what to do for themselves and also their friends around them, and then they are immediately taxed. So I think, I'm not saying that the creatives shouldn't pay taxes, but we need to create some sort of a systematic way of helping them to grow their ideas and businesses, so that when they are at a certain level where they are bit able to sustain themselves, they are then taxed. I saw this example in Germany, in Berlin. The city of Berlin wanted to encourage young entrepreneurs to come into the city because the city was very much of like you have to be rich to have an apartment. So what they did, they could give you an incentive and a subsidy to come and open up a design shop in the middle of the city for 6 months. You don't pay, you pay like 20% of what you would have paid. And there were so many new businesses that came into the city. After 6 months, they change. And that was also very good because they were like, okay, I have 6 months here, I can make something out of it. I move, I go to another city, 6 months, then another business comes in. So it became a very rotating, nothing was the same every 6 months, and it was really vibrant. But when you look at our cities, like, I don't know, when you go to the malls now, everything is closed. People cannot survive anymore because no one is buying. The rents are very high. Yeah. They have failed to regulate that. Even when they regulate, they cannot enforce those regulations. So you find that you are at the mercy of the landlord. And the landlord, if they close your shop, where are you gonna? Some people have these places they don't even have contracts or agreements or whatever. So you cannot go to court. You're stuck. So I really think the planning for the people, as Rasbi is saying, is very, very important.
Wow.
Yeah.
Before you continue, I want to add on to the other time I was on social media, Facebook, someone posted that he had visited some country in West Africa, and some Mzungu was talking about Uganda as a very good destination for tourism, and he was wondering why people are not coming. But when you look at the trending events, it's about the creative industry. Ask yourself why people are flocking to Dubai, why people go to Paris or New York. He was asking himself the same question. It's about the creativity. When you go to Dubai, you're like, wow.
There's a lot more that meets the eye to see. You want to be fed with something positive, so you can come back.
Wow. In fact, today I was watching Facebook, and there was a clip of these girls who got to work in the Middle East.
Yes.
There was a video, they were landing in Saudi Arabia. So the girls were like, wow, is this Saudi Arabia? When it was at night, and you see the entire city lit, So it's not about, we have our gorillas, it's a bonus, but we need the creative industry.
Yes.
Like Faisal talked about,
art on the wall.
They need to make our cities better, so that when people come in, they're like, wow, like Dubai, like the Maldives, cities you go to and you're like, yeah, this is the place to be.
But you know what, for me what I find fascinating is that our folks in planning and most of them are the ones who get fascinated more.
Yes.
When they go out, they were like, and they take selfies and take
But when they get back here, they
when
go.
they are back here, they just get into their cars, wee, and then they go. And I find that really sad. I mean, if you are, whatever authority you have, whatever opportunity you have in leadership or in government, what do you think? When you go back home, what do you ask yourself? What have I contributed to this country?
Yeah.
What have I, or just disorganizing it?
Yes.
Disorganizing people in traffic, disorganizing the office. What do you go back to and say, today I've really done this for my country? I think that's the question many people need to ask themselves. And when you look at this city and those cities that you go to all the time, how do you see yourself contributing to making your city also want other people to come to it? This was what Jennifer was really trying all the time. And of course it was not easy, but it's possible. Cities have transformed, look at Dubai itself. It has transformed since, in just 50, in 50 years. It has transformed. What is so different? What is so difficult for us? What can we do? And I think it all comes to sitting down and planning for this country. Why other people, the colonialists came here, they planned our city the way they thought they could be, and those plans have not changed.
And they enjoyed it for us.
And they enjoyed it for us. So I think it's really important to look at, this city can be so vibrant.
Yeah.
It can be so vibrant, but it cannot be vibrant when you're leaving out the stakeholders. The creatives are the ones who are going to make these cities vibrant. You have to make sure that they are part and parcel of the processes of planning, of thinking, of investing, and that would give us the opportunity to feel part of. I think I find very few people who are proud of being in Kampala or being born in Kampala. Of course, you can be, I was born in Kampala when you're in Koboko or whatever. Yes. But you're not proud of your city. You get what I mean? You're not proud of your city. What could you be proud of? The traffic? The swimming pools whenever it rains? What are you proud of? So I think it is very important that people who are part of this city should start to be proud of it, but they can only be proud of it when there is something that the city is allowing them to offer.
Of course.
Not only just, let them live.
Well, this is the creative industry talk. These guys are on fire this morning, and of course I agree with them. If a city is not good for other people to come and enjoy, or in fact for its own citizens, they don't feel it, then how can others come and feel it? Yes. So we've got to be able to think through this process. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, creative industry will conclude by talking about two things. One, the use of internet to market creative industry, or for creative industry to also be in the space of selling their works and earning from it. Economically, we want to see if that is viable and is possible. We talked a bit last week, but we want to share a little bit more about that. But also look at increasingly governments across the world, what they are doing for their creative industry to be vibrant, to bring people back, because people were stressed. A lot of stress were brought in by COVID-19 because we're in a lockdown. We need the creative industry. We need the art industry, the music, when we're talking about creative industry, it involves so much to come back, to remove the stress so that we can enjoy, and then people will begin to go back to the productive mind, of development across the country. Stay right there, and we want to play for you a song from Susan Keronen so that you can tell that our culture can be exported to the rest of the world. Let's check it out. From my people all the way in Navy and everyone down there. Let's check this out. That is what we are calling making an artist happier. Let's check it out if Susan Keronen can sell to the world.
beki parakia. Iagale, iagale, nyiti kwenu. Iagale, 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 nyiti kwenu. Iagale, iagale, iagale. Betoni kijelela abiba beki unyiti kwenu uwinyu bechamu belipoka chengo bepodu iwi kwenu ti uriama biba no uriama goro nam no abiba dechucha uriama biba cha abiba ugoro nam abiba cha ugoro nam uwinya biba uwinyu goro nam uwinya biba cha uwinyu goro nam uwinyu biba. That's the eagle. The eagle is one of the birds that you find in Uganda. It's a strong bird, feeds on only fresh meat. The eagle is one of the birds that I admire. It has a nature of taking time to go up into the mountain for a fast, cleans out its system. It's also known for its great hunting skills, perfect eyesight, and perfect catch. Once it sets its eye on something, a prey, it will dive swiftly and it never misses. Uwinya biba, uwinyu goruna, uwinya biba cha, uwinyu goruna, uwinyu goruna. Now that's the marabou stork. It's a large bird found in the stork family. People love to call it the undertaker. It feeds on everything: metal, stoned, rotten stuff, fresh stuff. Also took time to clean Kampala city. Walks around with a sack of acid hanging below his neck. I love the Uwinyu Gorunam because of his, elegant movement. Walks around with his hands folded behind his back. Kind of amusing. I love it so much, huh? Uwinya biba, Uwinyu Gorunam, Uwinya biba cha, Uwinyu Gorunam, Uwinyu bueno. Now that's the unfortunate chicken. Now this is a fact. Did you know that the chicken is a very soft-hearted bird? It actually gets depressed, and when it does get depressed, its feathers fall off its body. And this is another fact, that the chicken is a very sensitive bird in protecting its chicks. When you approach its territory, it will fight for its dear life. I'm very sure most of you as children were scratched by a chicken. But this is another fact, that no single household and no restaurant can survive without a chicken recipe. Is that a true fact? So as the saying goes, we need to live and let live, right? Because that's just like the Abiba and the Ogorunam. We all feed on chicken, but we should take it slow, right? Uwinya biba, uwinyu Ogorunam, uwinya biba cha, uwinyu Ogorunam. Yale chengu bepodu. Ubepodi wikweno, iki. Yale, chengo bepodu. Ubepodi wikweno, iki. Yale, chengo bepodu. Ubepodi wikweno, iki. Yale, chengo bepodu. Ubepodi wikweno, iki.
Welcome back from that break. This is the Creative Industry Talk. Faisal Kiwewa in the studio and Ssali. We are talking about the effect of COVID-19 on the creative industry, but most especially on the events industry, and of course, you know, the investors into the industry as well as partners. Today we are going to talk about partners, and we want to, before we talk about partners, we want to diagnose the handling of the COVID-19 itself from government. And I want to start back to you, Faisal. Increasingly, most governments across the world are easing on COVID-19 lockdowns, and other measures are being put in place to help creative industry go back, to help businesses go back, because they also realize that the money wasn't coming in, taxes are not being collected. What strategies do you recommend that government of Uganda could put in place, you know, for the creative industry to get back on its feet and start functioning well? And Rasby would be answering, should government do support the industry to recover by just giving handouts? Do you believe? Can they give you money for events industry to support?
We've talked about
yes, so but let Faisal go first.
Yeah, I think, I mean, first of all, of course, we are in different phases of COVID. Some governments are opening up, others are closing again because of the second and the third waves.
Yeah.
And there are countries that are really, really bad off. And I'm very happy, and we as Ugandans are very fortunate to be in this continent, this side of the world, where we have not really been very much affected. Like, you know, you look at Brazil, you look at India now, look at, you know, what has happened to, what happened, I know Italy is now, you know, recovering. America has been affected. Now the new administration is doing well. Whereas I think what we can learn from there, and how have these governments really helped their people to go through the problem, because it wasn't anyone's fault, as we said earlier on, and it has not been easy for anyone, because no one knew that this is going to be like this. But they have really tried to think for their people, to put certain things in places to make sure that people can go through this process without getting, you know, traumatized, I would say. And I'm sure after this, even in Uganda, the only problem I find here, we don't know that we get depressed. And because some are doing very well, others are not. So I never tend to look at the person in downtown or that Rasby is stuck, is riding the bicycle because these event companies don't work. Yes, but people get very depressed, and we're going to get very many post-COVID depressions, because, and even now people are in, lots of people are in depression because things are not working. I think what government needs to do, not only for the creative arts, as we've talked about it earlier with Rasby, I think it's also important to use this time to think and plan for its people. And not only the creatives, but also other sectors, the health, the education. What is happening, like when you drive all the way to Karamoja, and then the government tells you, oh, schools are going to open with SOPs. And then you find this school in
upcountry school
in Budaka.
Yes.
You look at it and you be like, seriously, what SOPs? You know, what are the SOPs going to help this school? You know what I mean? So it's also important, and it's not because we have to, they have to pay for everything, but they can also create partnerships. As we say, we are talking about partnership. They can create partnerships, work with some, you know, private sector, work with people who are interested in education. Maybe the government is not the one that is able to do all these investments, but you can give people incentives. And the way education has itself has given many people, investors, incentive, because they know when you build a school, you don't even need to advertise. Kids will come. Parents will bring their children, because we give birth every day. But I think it's also important that government, as this process has gone, to go around the country, have an assessment. I'm telling you, most of the people who do planning, they don't even know, they don't even visit the country. They don't know, you know, like, I mean, they leave it to their structures, the municipalities, but you need to go around the country and say, how can I make change here? When you drive to Kitgum, you know, you could see such beautiful land. And you could do so much if you plan that land with the people, with the communities, and tell them, how can we help to develop? How can we bring services closer to you? How can we make sure that we don't get affected by them? How can we close this gap of all these kids that get on the bus and flock Kampala to beg? how can we, there are so many things that government can do, and they could use this period because it's given us a much more wider perspective on what can happen when things go worse, and they could plan for their country better.
Well, thank you very much, Faisal. Russ B, I ask you a question. What should government do to support the industry to recover? I mean, what we hear most of the time is that, there's a subsidy coming for the creative industry. Now, you are an investor into this industry we're talking about. You're not just a creative mind, but you're also an investor like Faisal. I mean, how much money can government give you to subsidize, or how much handout can you receive to compensate for the 1.5 years you've been? Is that the best strategy, or what are the best, what in your view as an investor, what would be the best way government can help you to support you as an event supplier for your business to get back on the stage?
Of course, for now, if government says, hey, this is a handout to me, I'll be happy. Yeah. But it's not a solution. It's not a solution to my business or my well-being. It's not a permanent solution. You see, the best way, as we've talked before, is planning. Because when you look at our government, what I've, I think, noticed, our planners are asleep. You know, when you look at the pandemic, well, to me, it hasn't, like Faisal said, when you look at other countries, the impact was so huge. But when you look at Uganda, it wasn't that much. So government would have used that to research and understand why hasn't COVID impacted on us that much? Because the death rate, we can't compare it to Spain or Italy or India or Brazil. So they would say, oh, okay, COVID is not that a threat. It's a threat, but when you look at us as Ugandans, the impact is very low. So that would have been a step ahead.
But they will say it is this strategy that is managing that one.
No, you see, you see the problem, we work on a script. When someone gives you a script, you also use that same one. Oh, we have to do this, or we have to do this. Because that's why they let Magufuli. They gave him a script, but it was like, no, it can't work here. We need to create our own script. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Because even if I give ideas on how we can get back on our feet and work, when the handlers, the government, the main planners are not thinking about it, it's a waste. So government has to wake up fast. Then we can also say yes. Then we present our ideas. But even if I mention them, they won't help. So government has to come. We are all stakeholders in this country. We are citizens. So they should engage us. We have planning departments, a planning board, whatever. They should invite us, we present our ideas, and see how we can move on.
Okay.
However much I present good ideas here, when the handlers are somewhere else thinking about politics and how they can stay in power, you know, it can't help. So the best way is government to wake up, get on its feet, engage us, the people, we present our ideas. But we've talked about this. The only way the industry can get back to the feet is allowing us to work under the SOPs.
Whatever circumstances.
And let me tell you, by the way, even before COVID, the most organized industry was the creative industry. You look at shows, Faisal can testify. You know, when you go to a concert, everything is in place. Security, how people are gonna come in, emergency exits. You know, all this, we used to plan it. We were the most organized industry. So, I don't know what's happening there. Someone doesn't think about the industry, or they want to kill the industry completely. Or they think, these ones don't contribute anything to society. But
have you been paying taxes though? You might be talking here. The reason could maybe they are slow because the creative industry have not been paying.
I have a car. I have a car.
No, but I have a TIN number. So if I have a TIN number,
I pay everything. I bring in, I pay. The services I provide, I earn money, I pay. But right now I can't pay. I can't even pay for a trading license. Because they send me messages, due, but I'm like, I'm not working. So then the other issue, where should I, one issue I noticed here.
So you can imagine how many people are like Rasby.
Where should I complain? Where
Yeah.
should I take my complaint? That is another issue. If I have a good plan, where do I take it? The other time you're saying guys are presenting in State House, how can I access? Is there a desk where we can go and present?
But should everything go to State House? That's another thing.
And this is the thing I've been talking about.
But there is I want to say something, Rasby, in fact, there, as we hasten to the close of the show. There's a document that was sent outside called the Final Creative Economy Action Plan, March 2016. It was updated in 2016, 2015, 2016. It was updated in 2019, 2020 when COVID came into action. And this is Minister of Labor, Gender and Social Development presented this. And I see some action plans here. Under that, there was Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development, Copyright. That's the document. Now, when you look at the forward of this document, it talks about the National, Action Plan on Culture and Creative Industry of Uganda is a result of the creative made by His Excellency the President to establish and raise awareness of the economic value of creative industry in the country. This was during the third, investment round table, meeting of 2011. The action plan is also responsive to Uganda's Vision 2040 and National Development Plan 2010-2011, 2014-2015.